Trump called Washington more of a sewer than a swamp, and with the stench of blatant bias and partisanship surrounding the Russia probe worsening by the day, he's right. Mueller's team could use a good flush. So let's peel back the layers here. Just last week, we discovered Trump derangement syndrome hasn't just infected late-night TV hosts and Hollywood liberals. It's also spread to none other than the very team tasked with investigating Trump associates. Yes, I'm talking about FBI official Peter Strzok, who was finally removed from the investigation after allegedly exchanging anti-Trump texts with an FBI lawyer he was romantically involved with. Oh yeah, they both worked on the Mueller investigation. Oh, but there's more. Andrew Weissman, a prosecutor on Mueller's team, emailed Sally Yates the day Trump would fire her as acting attorney general for refusing to defend one of his executive orders, writing, "I am so proud." Yep, Weissman remains on Mueller's team. Oh, and what about FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe? His wife ran for state senate and received campaign contributions from groups associated with Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, a Clinton ally. The Russia probe was littered with sewer rats from the start. First, James Comey leaks info to the press, all to start an investigation. Then, his good friend and former close colleague Robert Mueller is chosen to direct it. Convenient. And who does he select to help? 4 top lawyers who also happen to be Obama, Hillary, and DNC donors. One of them even worked for the Clinton Foundation. And don't forget, some of these Mueller team rats now hell-bent on destroying President Trump are the same ones who helped get Hillary Clinton off the hook. The woman deleted 33,000 emails. Does that sound like something an innocent woman would do? I think not. This probe isn't an investigation, it's a witch hunt. And it's a witch hunt you, the American taxpayer, are paying for. Yes, that should tick you off. In the first 4.5 months alone, this farce has cost you almost $7 million. That's roughly what the Benghazi investigation totaled in 2 years. And need I remind you, in the Benghazi case, people died. It's rather sad Mueller and team would go to such great lengths just to satisfy pent-up bitterness over an election their precious Hillary couldn't win. Sad. Those are my final thoughts. From LA, God bless, and take care.
The special prosecutor's investigation so far has turned up no evidence of collusion between Trump and Russia. None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. But with every passing day, we learn more about the shocking anti-Trump bias of Bob Mueller's team. Peter Strzok, Jeannie Rhee, Andrew Weissman, the list keeps growing and growing. And just today, we learned that attorney Aaron Zebley, who's known as Mueller's right-hand man, previously represented the guy who helped set up Hillary's private email system. I can't even believe this. And who later destroyed 2 of her mobile devices with a hammer. I wish we could put that hammer in the Smithsonian. Wouldn't that be fun? The president's allies have had enough, and according to the Wall Street Journal, are now urging him to go on the offense against a probe that now seems like nothing but a partisan political lynch mob, if you ask me. Joining us now from Phoenix is Republican Congressman Andy Biggs of Arizona, and here in Washington, Democratic strategist Michelle Juando of the Center for American Progress. Michelle, I want to start with you because when you look at this list, I think we have a graphic of the contributions that some on his team have made. James Quarles has given $30,050 to Democrats. Jeannie Rhee, $9,150. Andrew Weissman, $4,000. Greg Andres, Andrew Goldstein, Elizabeth Perliger, Brandon Van Grack, Rush Atkinson, $200. That's not a big deal, but all the other ones are not insignificant. And you add that the fact that a lot of them represented, one represented the Clinton Foundation, one represented Ben Rhodes. How does a regular American person not look at this Mueller team as just a bunch of Trump adversaries, political adversaries, who want to undo a presidential election?
Well, I think there are a few things. When we say in this country that you can serve in law enforcement, we don't have a political test for those individuals. I come from a family of prosecutors. When you sign up and you say you want to serve your country, there is no test. You don't have to pledge allegiance to a president. You pledge it to this country. And when Robert Mueller has found out about individuals who he was concerned about conflict of bias, He fired them, and that's exactly what we want him to do. So I understand.
Why didn't he reveal it at the time when he got rid of Strzok in July? Why didn't he reveal that to the American public, given the gravity of this investigation?
Right. I mean, I think if we remember the purpose of this investigation is national security. So I think what he is focusing on is how do we keep this country safe.
So you don't think that you don't think there's any
collusion?
You don't think there's any even appearance of a conflict with this group of people involved in an investigation that could lead to the impeachment of a president? No appearance of a conflict, not even an actual conflict, because if there's an appearance of a conflict, as a lawyer, you're really supposed to reveal what your potential conflict could be. And to me, the revelations are, it's like pulling teeth to try to get this information.
You know, but don't we want him to actually do what he did, which is to fire those individuals?
No, I want to know. I want to know what they've said politically. I want to know what their emails and texts have said.
If we begin to focus on every individual as opposed to the purpose of this investigation.
You know what the fruit of the poisonous tree is?
Of course I do.
Okay,
one of the fun things you
right. So if you have ill-gotten gains in an investigation, ill-gotten either because of a bad actor or a biased actor, everything that comes as a result of that could be called into question. Well, I want to go to Congressman Biggs on this. Congressman, I find the president's legal team, frankly, to be a little bit kind of almost gun-shy to question the Mueller team. The president was very tough on the Justice Department and has been in some tweets, but his legal team had been more circumspect here.
Yeah, and I think they're wrong to be circumspect, because what we have here, this is the very swamp creature that all of America is looking at, because it isn't that Robert Mueller said, oh, this is why we got rid of Strzok. We had to pry that out. That came through FOIA requests. Congress has asked for information. We're not getting it. One thing we found out from Director Sessions and Director Wray, or Attorney General Sessions and Director Wray, is they don't even have a process for vetting and for conflict of interest. So most private sector law firms, and even in prosecutorial agencies, if you have a bias, you've got to disclose that bias, because it's an ethical violation to take a conflict of interest case. So people check that out. These biases are not inconsequential. If you're giving $30,000 to Democrats, guess what? You're all in. You're all in. If you are being critical of President Trump and in an overt way showing up at resist movement issues, you're not just saying, hey, I'm a political participant.
Well, it undermines the credibility. I'm going to ask you both.
Yes.
Does this not undermine the credibility of an investigation when you have rank partisans who worked for Ben Rhodes, who worked for the Clinton Foundation, and now someone who actually represented the guy who destroyed the email, the devices, with a hammer? So you're actually working for the political adversary of the guy you're now investigating. Now, if that's not an apparent conflict of interest, then I don't know what is. But I think it undermines the overall integrity of an investigation that, frankly, should be unassailable, given the gravity of it. Michelle, you can close out.
Laura, I think we need to remember that we're talking about someone who served this country in Vietnam. He has had respect on both sides of the aisle for years. And if we are now saying that someone who is as respected as Robert Mueller is...
So he can never make a mistake?
Of course you can make a mistake, but the question is, why are we raising these questions now as he continues
because
to get
we're finding out the information
to
now.
President Trump's inner circle?
Well, did you agree with Bill Clinton when Bill Clinton went after you know what I'm going to ask?
Okay.
If Bill Clinton went after Ken Starr's legal team for being biased, did you criticize him for doing that?
When we are focused on national security and when we want to get to the root of what role
There's no
Russia
collusion. There's no Russia collusion. They gave that up long ago.
Then I think
Where's
we
the
will
Russia
all
collusion?
recognize
Where is
that
it?
this is about protecting one another.
Where's the Russian collusion?
He's not interested in going after partisans. He's interested in keeping this country
Where's
safe.
the Russian collusion?
And I think it's actually
There
almost
is none.
comical that the FBI, they're
It's
mostly
comical that you
white
can't answer the
conservative men at the FBI,
Who
and now
cares?
we are saying that all of a sudden they're
Who's
like
there?
raging liberals.
The people on the investigation are raging
almost
liberals.
Like comical, Laura.
Okay, so Andrew Weissman's a raging liberal?
I think
raging conservative?
I think it's almost comical.
No, what's comical is that you didn't criticize Bill Clinton's people when they were trashing Ken Starr. As I recall, I don't think those guys were being criticized because they were actually smart. They went on the offense against Ken Starr, and that's why in the end the Starr report ended up leading to impeachment. But in the end, Bill Clinton ended up more popular because last time I checked, the gals in the Senate ended up doing a pep rally for Bill Clinton after that impeachment.
National security isn't a